You want a podcast? Welcome to Flute 360, the podcast that reminds you everything is connected. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, flutist, educator, creative entrepreneur, and follower of Christ. Here, we explore the full circle, the 360 of your life as a musician, because who you are as a person shapes who you are as an artist, and the lessons you learn outside the practice room are just as vital as the hours with your flute in hand. From health and spiritual growth to artistry and career fulfillment, this space is where it all intersects. Come as you are. There's a seat for you at the Flute 360 table. Today's episode is episode 356, and it's titled, Took a Break? Your playing isn't behind. It's evolving. Hey there, Flute 360er. Thank you so much for returning to the Flute 360 podcast and for clicking play. I am so glad that you are here with me today. This particular episode is for the flutist who has had a semi-break or a long hiatus away from their instrument. Maybe you had a recent performance-related injury. Maybe you were raising children, earning yet another degree, got married, or simply needed space from the flute for a particular season. Whatever the reason for stepping away from your instrument, you're not alone. And maybe now, new circumstances have arisen, and a part of you is saying, yes, I'm ready to return to music. I am ready to return back to my flute. But another part of you is afraid of feeling rusty, afraid perhaps you won't sound the same, afraid you won't measure up to who you used to be. And I just want to reassure you, friend, that these feelings that you're going through are completely and utterly normal. It's normal to compare your past playing self to your current self, to compare your air quote prime years to what you can or can't do now. Or maybe comparison is getting in the way. Maybe you're looking at Jane or Joe and thinking, they're so far ahead of me. Why should I even bother coming back? Totally valid. Now, I want you to hear this loud and clear, okay? These thoughts, these feelings do not make you weak. They make you human. And I want to state the obvious. Life does get chaotic. Life can get messy. And if you feel pulled to return or come back to the instrument because it brings you joy, because it's your voice, because flute has opened doors and relationships nothing else could have, then your desire to come back to music making is beyond courageous. Now, whether your break was short or long, the fact that you want to reconnect, you are choosing to reconnect with your artistic identity, that in of itself is worth celebrating. It may seem like a small step or a small win, but every small victory, whether minuscule or large, it's worth celebrating. It's also normal to mourn what you used to be able to do. Perhaps in your earlier days, like your 20s or 30s, you practiced 4, 5, 6 hours a day. But now things are a little different in your later years. Perhaps now in your 40s or 50s, you're lucky to find 5 or 10 minutes to practice. And guess what, friend? That is okay. Every season is going to look different. Every season is going to have its own ebb and flow. If you're feeling discouraged, embarrassed, or frustrated because your playing isn't what it once was, those emotions are valid. Notice them, observe them, be curious with them. Let them come up to the surface, but observe them gently rather than judging them. And here comes that curiosity piece yet again. Health woes, be curious. Relationship woes, be curious. Practicing woes, get curious. The more you can identify, be aware, and be curious about said situation, the more you are going to unlock new possibilities, new ways of thinking, new perspectives from this place of curiosity rather than judgment. When you shift into curiosity, noticing your emotions instead of attacking yourself for having them, gentleness enters the room. Gentleness creates possibility. And I've learned this the hard way through my own neck rehab journey. There was one particular night when I was crying because the flare-ups and the inflammation was so intense. And I asked God in that very intimate, vulnerable moment, what do you want me to learn from this experience? He said in a very soft whisper, loud and clear, gentle spirit. I will never forget that. And with that gentleness, you can show yourself that gentleness and others that same gentleness when they are going through their different seasons, their highs and lows. So gentleness creates possibility. So many of my students and or clients share how much it pains them, how much it hurts that the flute isn't part of their daily rhythm like it once was. And sometimes I hear emotions and feelings being expressed like they feel ashamed or embarrassed or like they've failed their instrument. And I try to always bring them back to the present, to the current situation. The past is history. The present is a gift, and tomorrow is a mystery. Now, yes, that may sound oh so cheesy, but it's oh so true. Today is the only moment in time that you have available to yourself. And how are you going to show up and make the best of it? Through my own trials, God has continually shown me that we are never alone. He walks with us every step of the way. And when we stay present, really present, truly in the moment, depression softens. Your anxiety, it lightens. And joy, and choosing joy, you can choose joy. Joy becomes more accessible. So if you catch yourself wandering back to the good old days of 10 or 20 years ago, honor it, acknowledge that season, acknowledge the memory, and then gently reframe it. What if this present, current day season could be a new prime, a different prime, a present moment prime? What if your good old days are right here in this very moment? Honor the past, yes, but please, oh please, don't get stuck there. Because getting stuck in air quote back when ... steals the joy of discovering who you are becoming right now. And I bring this up because Dr. Bo reminded me of this gentle sentiment a few months ago. I was starting to get back into playing after my long hiatus away from the flute, and I told him I had some gigs on the schedule. He congratulated me and said, "That's amazing, Heidi. Good for you." And my response was, "Yes, but I'm worried about not sounding like I did in my prime." And he lovingly said, "Who's to say that today and tomorrow won't be your prime season?" Because how I see it, the past 40 years, you've been beating up your body, and your body has been taking a royal hit with not being fully supported. And you have been practicing relentlessly, but not in the best way possible, and he wasn't shaming me, but just making me aware. And you have been practicing relentlessly for so long, for quite some time, that it took a toll on your body. You didn't have the tools that you have now. So who's to say that now in your 40s, this isn't your prime season? When I heard that, I was completely relaxed. It brought me so much joy, and it felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. And it was like, oh yeah, there is space for new possibilities. Why is my hang up back 10, 15 years behind me, when I can do nothing about that now? So yes, honor the past, honor the steps you took along your journey, but try to be really present in the current season that you're in. So when a negative thought rises, and these thoughts swirl around in your head like, oh, you're behind, or you'll never sound the same, why even bother? Try this. I imagine putting that particular thought inside a bubble. And inside that bubble, the bubble will float. I watch it float up into the air, into the sky. And then in my mind's eye, pop it with a needle like a balloon. With that pop, it dissolves. And I'm left with space for what is actually empowering. Another example of this is imagine a bumblebee. Now, this bumblebee is in the room with you. He's buzzing around. And yes, you notice the bumblebee. But talk to the bee. The bee are these negative thoughts. The bee represents these negative thoughts. Recognize it. Say, "Hi, Mr. Bumblebee." But you can be over there. You can swarm over there. You can buzz over there. But I do not give you permission to sting me. You can be in the room with me, but coming over here and stinging me, that's not an option. You can try that analogy too, if that works well for your mind as well. So between the balloon popping example and the bumblebee example, you have some tools in your toolbox that you can use at your disposal. See which one works well for you. A real example of this that's happening in my current season is, I noticed it the other day. I'm easing back into the flute this Christmas season after my own break from the instrument. And I've decided, because you always have a choice, I've decided to take small gigs to rebuild my endurance. The other day, while I was photocopying some Christmas melodies, I heard this little negative self-talk voice pop into my brain and say, "Come on, Heidi, this is so easy. Why did you even schedule yourself for this? Why are you even doing this? Is it really worth your time?" And I'm like, oh, ding, ding, ding. There's that bee buzzing around. And I acknowledged it. And so I called it out. I had to answer that voice. I swear, if anybody were to ever walk into my office at any given moment, they would think that I was literally completely loony and I lost my marbles, because I am consistently talking to that voice and talking with myself and coaching myself through those conversations. And so I answered it. I said, yes, this brings me joy. This is how I rebuild. These tiny steps, they matter to me. So what I keep learning and how I'm reminded is that, sometimes our brains can be extra tricky. And you have a choice. You always have a choice. You can boss your brain. Negative self-talk loves to disguise itself as logic. Maybe these thoughts in your brain, they're trying to protect you. But many of these thoughts are simply attacks meant to discourage, dishearten, and or disconnect you from what you're called to do. And for me as a believer, I believe sometimes that these negative self-talk pieces come at us from the enemy. And so that's when you can say, in reply to it, sorry, not today, Satan. Get behind me. I am a child of God. I am covered. I am blessed. I am supported. I am loved. And this is where bossing your brain comes in. You get to decide what you focus on. What you choose to focus in on, that's what will grow. If you stay focused on, oh, I used to be better, that becomes then your narrative. You are choosing that line, that season. You are choosing to believe those thoughts. But what if you rewrote the script? Rewrite it. Change your paradigm. Instead of, I used to be better back then in my heyday, maybe choose the words, I'm choosing to return. This is my choice. I love this one the most. I can pick up where I left off. Again, it's a choice. It puts you in the driver's seat. And maybe another sentiment that you can offer yourself is, even 10 minutes, it counts. That becomes the reality you build into. So the other thing that I want to normalize for you during this season of returning back to your instrument is artistic seasons will ebb and flow, just like life. You're not always going to be on a high. You're not always going to have your calendar booked out with tons of gigs, or your studio won't always have max student capacity within your business. Things will ebb and flow, just like life. Some seasons, maybe your flute never leaves your face. Other seasons, it stays in the case for maybe weeks, months, or years. And that's not failure. You have not failed yourself. You have not failed your career, and you have not failed others or your instrument. That's just the nature of life. And what my 3-year hiatus taught me, or really more or less reminded me of, two things. I learned a lot during these past 3 years. I could write a book on it, but if I could narrow down a few things, it would be this. God is beyond great. And breaks can be profoundly healing. Maybe your break away from the instrument is part of your spiritual, mental, or physical restoration. Maybe breaking away from your instrument is the time you needed to be restored. Maybe it's a part of the narrative, a part of your career's narrative, your artistic story. I genuinely feel God has been reconstructing me during my time away. He's been remolding me, polishing me, teaching me a healthier relationship with music, with myself, with others. And he definitely has been stripping away old toxic patterns of perfectionism and pressure. So as I'm returning back to the instrument, I'm a new person. I'm going to be a different artist. And so, yes, even though it pains me to be away from the instrument for quite some time, it's for the better. I'm rejuvenated. I'm healed. I'm restored. And not that it's a one and done. I'm going to be continually molded until the day I die. But for this season that I'm in, this chapter of the book that I'm in, it was a necessity for the break. So during your break, you didn't stop growing. Yes, maybe the flute was away from your face, but look around you. You grew in other capacities, in other ways. Maybe you are a gardener. What did gardening teach you? What did parenthood teach you? What did that other degree teach you? How about just the mere fact of slowing down? All of these experiences enrich your musicianship when you return. So for me, I got to learn a lot about my body in new and exciting ways. I got to learn about my nervous system, breath work, fascia, movement, weight training. All of that has deepened my musical expression. I'm a better instructor to my students because of it. And it has deepened my return to the instrument. I see it now as a joy that I get to choose. It's my choice. So my break wasn't empty. It was full of preparation. And the same goes for you too. Your break isn't empty. It's not going to go to waste. I want you to decisively choose to take the lessons you learned from your musical break, whether it was from a sport, a degree, a relationship, gardening, sewing, and be intentional. Take those lessons from those different mediums and choose to bring it back into your instrument as you are coming back to your music making. You will be blown away by your growth. And with that will come excitement, anticipation, and joy to see how your music making develops in this current season. So remember, coming back to music making, to your flute, to your piccolo, to your alto or bass flute, is a privilege. You chose to return and reconnect. And I wholeheartedly believe this. That choice matters. And I think a lot of people this may be a harsh term, but I don't mean it this way. Maybe some people freak out that, this break could mean that, what I've done in the past gets erased. A hiatus does not erase your artistry. It does not erase the lessons you've learned thus far. It doesn't cancel your achievements or accomplishments. In fact, actually, breaks can deepen your resonance and mature your interpretation. So sure, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yes, you may feel rusty at the flute at first, and that's okay. It's a muscle. It can be retrained again, right? But please be patient with that process. Be gentle with yourself and the flute. skills return. And often they return with more depth and intention than before. So as we're wrapping up this episode and this topic, I want to encourage you. Instead of thinking, well, I used to be this kind of artist, ask yourself, reframe your paradigm. What kind of artist am I becoming now? And who's to say the best isn't still ahead? So my flute friend, my Flute 360 friend, what I've learned is this. Every flutist's path is uniquely individualized. I cannot stress this enough. I have interviewed 250 people these past 7 years, and no two flutists' paths and their stories even look remotely alike. There are tons of amazing artists out there who are instructors, flutists, composers. Or maybe they are a flutist, author, researcher. Or maybe they are into computer science, coding, building out websites, and gigging. You cannot compare your journey to Jane's or Joe's for even a nanosecond. God gave you your lane, your voice, your instrument, and your calling. Please steward it well and share it. Don't keep it for yourself. Share it with the world. Share it freely with your community and glorify Him with it. So if you feel called to put together an album for flute and harp, do it. Or perhaps you feel propelled to play for senior living homes. Go do that. What if you want to uplift people in hospitals? Go do it. Or maybe you see a void in the market. Maybe you want to put together a small chamber group for underserved communities. Go for it. And I know comparison in our music culture sometimes is, unfortunately, the norm. So if you notice that you're comparing yourself to Jane or Joe, again, observe, be curious, but let it go. So if your peers or your colleagues are performing in other venues, other places, celebrate them. You don't have to match their path. You don't have to match their calling. Because we each carry such a unique thread in God's tapestry. My color may be pink, your color may be blue, and someone else's may be green. They're all beautiful on their own. Like, I love green, blue, and pink in of its own right. But when you weave those three colors together, now you're forming something beautiful. And your color of thread, that's needed too. If you need more support along your flute journey and what it looks like to come back to your instrument after a short or long hiatus, I am in your corner, friend. I love this kind of stuff. I love to empower you, lift you up, and be your number one cheerleader. This is what we do inside of the Flute 360 Accelerator program. And if you are craving that community support with playing opportunities, coaching opportunities, the next live session is scheduled for Saturday, December 20th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes or go to my website at heidikbegay.com/shop and choose one of the 3 tiers that suits your budget the best. If you ever have any questions, you can always set up a very short 15-minute, no obligatory attachments to the call. But if you want to set up a 15-minute discovery call, you can schedule that through my Calendly account, and that's under my contact subpage on my website. And these are the things we talk about in the Accelerator program with flutists who get it, who are walking a similar path, and we are doing life together. So in addition to the live sessions, you also have access to replays, a current book club, master classes, masterminds, a great walkie-talkie app group feed where we lift each other up on the daily, and little weekly coaching tips from me between those live sessions. I'm always here for you. I'm always rooting for you. I pray that this content has served you well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time. Let's talk about Flute.